brewery was founded in 1992 by Martin Hunt and Tony Stanton. We won the Best Bitter Award in 1996 at the Canberra Great British Beer Festival. That was for the beer Tea, traditional English ale, which then became Champion Beer of Britain, which helped us gain a lot of prominence in the UK. And we now brew over 120 barrels a week. We supply loads of pubs, lots of people, and it's going really well. The distribution was done in a very manual way. It was done by involving more people than we needed to. So we would involve myself, drivers, other people who thought they knew best. And it wasn't based on anything that made any sense. It was based on, I like to do it this way, therefore I will do it that way. And that isn't cost effective. And as we deliver to more and more places, our costs are rising because they have to. And the most expensive thing in the business is the transport. And we had to find a way of bringing that down. And the way to bring that down was to come up with a different solution and making it simpler so we can reduce the man hours that are involved and involve one person for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, rather than 3 or 4 people for 3 or 4 hours. We looked into routing software and we found many different options available. But because of the size of business we are, we noticed that some of them were too expensive for us. So I found a company called DPS, and they have a bit of software called Route Optimiser. And that's sort of scaled at businesses our size, so small to medium-sized businesses who don't maybe have 40 to 50 trucks in their fleet and don't want that sort of software. So that's where Route Optimiser came in. With Route Optimiser, the benefits for us as this size of business is the fact we can pay quarterly. So we pay for the amount of trucks we're using. So if we have 5 trucks, the pricing is scaled at 5 vehicles. That then can be costed annually or quarterly. That includes all your support, that includes your first set of training, and that includes ongoing support with the guys. And because it's an open company, you can deal with anyone there and they all know the product. The training we did with Route Optimiser was very good. So we spent 1 full day where they came to us, which with most software companies, you go to them, which is, in my mind, very good. Because you've bought a product, why should you be restricted based on where the company is? So they came to us. We met a lovely guy called Hamish. He spent the entire day with us. He understood where we were going wrong and what we were doing wrong and what we wanted to achieve. So by the end of that day, we had a very good idea of where we were going. Those notes were then passed to the support team. So when I phoned the next day after forgetting everything, they knew what I was talking about, which is quite refreshing, because when I'm going to do training with a driver, he wasn't even remembering any of it anyway, because he wanted to do it his own way. So the training was important for me and him as well, because he was able to almost change his ideology about how he should do things. And that was quite an eye-opening day, really. That was the best thing about the day. So when we first started using Route Optimiser, rather than just go sort of head first into it and take our current orders and drop them into it and then let it optimize it, we thought it was best to sort of look at our current schedule and see if it was actually working for us, because we didn't think it was. So what we were able to do was export our current customer list from our brewery system and import it into Route Optimiser. That we let Route Optimiser optimize a month's worth of deliveries. We then were able to then compare that to our current month of deliveries for that month. We were driving over 400 miles extra than we needed to. So we have now been able to come up with a new delivery schedule, which we are able to implement from June onwards. So we are able to offer people a better service. We can go to them more often. We can save in terms of miles, so we can save money. The drivers are doing less hours and we've got room to grow. And that's the main thing, that's how we started to first use the system. We use Route Optimiser now in a lot more of a simplified way. And I don't mean that because the system's simple. I mean it because we've done the groundwork when we got it and we've set up a good delivery schedule. So now it's a simple case of at the end of each day, we take our current orders, we import them into Route Optimiser. Based on the parameters in Route Optimiser, which is set to our specific settings, we then optimize the daily orders. That will give us as many routes as needed, but will never exceed our limitations here. If it does, it tells us and we're able to take steps to rectify that. If it tells us we need less drivers out on a certain day, it means we can send a 2-man lorry out if needed, or we can hold back a member of staff and they can help on site, which saves getting excess staff in another part of the business. With Route Optimiser, we've been able to save costings, firstly in the fuel side of things, which is the obvious cost that most companies do want to save the money on, especially for a company of our size. We've got 5 lorries, so it's important to maintain them and keep the costs down. So that's been really helpful. So the fuel has gone down in the past few months dramatically. We've only had we've had the software in for 6 months, so we are noticing change, but I think in the next financial year we'll be able to start tracking costs and really keep an eye on things. It's also helped the drivers, the sales team, because then from the first point of order to the delivery point, everything's a lot simpler now. We know when we're going to get to the pub's happy because we're there at the right time, and it's just made everyone a lot happier because everything's much clearer now. And before it was a bit of a muddle because things were being put in the wrong order, deliveries done at the wrong time, we didn't know delivery windows, and now we know that with Route Optimiser, if the route's been planned and we're happy with it, it's going to be done at the right time. The feedback from our customers since using Route Optimiser has been interesting because we haven't told them we've been using a bit of routing software because they don't care really, they just want beer delivered, which is fine. But we have noticed that they are a lot happier. Customers that were complaining that they were getting beer at the wrong time because the communication wasn't there to the driver, or the driver thought he could get there a bit earlier because it would save him a bit of time. So generally the few complaints we were having regarding delivery windows and efficiency have completely dropped off because the driver's there at the right time. So I'd recommend Route Optimiser to any business that's wanting to save money, improve their business in a whole, even if they don't want to save money, but improve morale, improve how they can just do their job generally, work with a business that's forward-thinking, and really improve things from both sides of the spectrum, from their sales side to their delivery schedules, and set in motion things that can work for the company going forward. I think a lot of companies forget that they need to think about 2 to 3 years down the line. They're very much in the now, which is a good place to be, but you can really get caught out just 18 months down the line, because if your orders increase and you're not ready, what are you going to do? It's a lot easier to implement something now rather than when you've actually got the problem, and that's why we started to use Route Optimiser.